Hello and welcome to our GENS9005 Psychology of Work group presentation. This presentation was created by Alexandra Milton, Britney Trevithick, Sally Hugh, Elaine Ching, and Jeff Zhu. For this group presentation, we will be focusing on the topic of communication and conflict resolution. Communication, whether verbal or non-verbal, is a vital part of everyday life and affects the way in which individuals and groups perform in the workplace. An organization's success depends highly on all communication procedures being properly encoded and decoded to ensure that all barriers to communication are disarmed, and that the respective audience understands all communication. Effective communication is a crucial element to drive the success of any individual or team in a workplace and allows organizations to produce higher rates of productivity and achieve their desired results. There are many barriers that often prevent effective communication in the workplace and thus disrupt the balance of work ethic and performance standard. Miscommunication is one of the most common obstructions to effective communication. Cultural barriers are also a major issue and disrupt the flow of the workplace, whilst a clash of religion, language, tradition, and customs often leads to stereotyping and lack of opportunity. Gender issues and stereotypes can also cause conflicts to effective communication in the workplace. Employees may assume someone is not fit to perform a task due to their gender and thus disrupt the course of effective communication. There are many different theories used to explain behavior in communication and conflict resolution, including Halsted's cultural dimension theory illustrates the effects of a society's culture on the values of its members and what these values have to do with behavior. Thomas explored the relationship between communication and trust by focusing on the quality and quantity of the information being communicated. The relationship between trust and communication depends on the quantity of information, the higher quality of information, and the more trust there is in the communication. Walther's social information processing theory says that computer-mediated communication does not differ from face-to-face communication in terms of the capability of social information exchange, but rather in terms of a slower rate of transfer. The main theory we will be focusing on for this presentation will be Thomas's trust theory, which focuses on the quality and quantity of the information being communicated and states that the higher quantity of information, the more trust in the communication. It was found that quality of information is the best predictor of trust with regard to communication amongst co-workers and supervisors. On the other hand, the quantity of information was a major predictor of trust while communicating with the top management. Communication is an essential team process that can distinguish the outcomes and results of a team task. Trust and communication are two separate behavioral concepts, yet they often play out together. Communication only occurs once the development of trust between individuals is formed and a bond is shared. Therefore, both trust and communication additively affect individual performance. Trust has been defined as the willingness of a party to be vulnerable to the actions of another party, based on the expectation that the other will perform a particular action important to the trustor, irrespective of the ability to monitor or control that other party. A study reported in the International Journal of Human Resource Management examined the patterns of trust and power in manager-employee relationships. This study revealed that the manager's communication themes such as dominance, coercive power, lack of willingness to listen, lack of support or empathy, and threat could affect the perceptions of groups, which ultimately erode the level of trust. In another study reported in the European Journal of Marketing, explored the role of communication and trust in explaining customer loyalty. Although they came to the conclusion that both trust and communication affect customer loyalty, they also reported that communication is an antecedent of trust. All in all, trust and communication go hand in hand. Attention to the quality and frequency of communication goes a long way toward creating an atmosphere of trust. Therefore, effective communication is an essential ingredient for trust between employees as well as trust between managers and employees. Attention to the quality and frequency of communication goes a long way toward creating an atmosphere of trust. Therefore, effective communication is an essential ingredient for trust between employees as well as trust between managers and employees. Massey and Kirizis investigated patterns of interpersonal trust between marketing managers and R&D managers during new product development projects. They also found that the communication quality instead of frequency had significant effect on interpersonal trust. Katila and Ronnie also found that the quality of information is more important than the frequency of information in creating trust. Communication, Commitment, and Trust, Exploring the Triad, was an article included in the International Journal of Business and Management in June 2011. This research paper reviewed previous studies on these topics along with data from a survey of 244 employees at a medium-sized company based in Australia. Their findings revealed that trust and commitment do not just happen, they are forged and maintained through effective communication. Findings from this study included 4 valuable highlights. 1. Perception of effective communication with senior management has one of the strongest effects on a company trust climate. 2. When communication channels begin to deteriorate, misunderstandings and representations abound and a climate of mistrust sets in. 3. Managers' ability to listen, communicate clearly, and lead had the strongest effect on employees' organizational commitment. And 4. To promote and build positive trust relationships, senior managers must communicate as honestly and directly as possible with their employees, particularly during uncertain times. For the purpose of this assignment, group member Alexandra Milton interviewed small business owner Craig Milton about his experiences with trust and communication within his team. Craig revealed his team performs regular trust exercises and participates in team bonding events to improve team communication and trust, including communication trust exercises. For example, Craig's staff divided into pairs and formed a circle. Craig then randomly placed items inside the circle. In turns, one person from each pair was blindfolded and their partner was asked to guide the blindfolded partner through verbal instructions to locate the items. Compatibility trust exercises. For example, Craig's staff were required to list 3 of what they thought were the strongest job-related talents or skills on a piece of paper anonymously. The team members were also asked to list a talent that no one in the group knew of and a few goals or achievements they would like to achieve. Each person's page was taped to a wall and everyone had to try and match the employee with their page. Then, all employees gathered to identify their pages and discuss their talents. Team bonding events, for example, team dinners and the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Craig said he learnt about these trust exercises from leadershiptools.com. Craig and his team were recently nominated by a fellow staff member to perform ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. This exercise displayed the high level of trust and communication within Craig's company, as the small business did not have to participate in the challenge. Craig stated in his interview that he thought the team really bonded over the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and the fact that their boss participated with them benefited the team's morale. You can watch Craig's team's ALS Ice Bucket Challenge on their Facebook page at the following link. Craig identified the following results from these trust exercises. Insight into co-workers' communication techniques, that is, whether a person is better at verbal or non-verbal communication. Ideas for future planning in team situations and communication. Increased productivity, better work relationships and bonds, better co-worker interaction, identification of shared values, and higher job satisfaction. There are numerous strengths involved in Thomas's trust theory. Organizations need to consider this theory and approach because communication falls between trust and leadership. Communication is the thread that enables leaders to create a culture of trust within their organization. Once trust is established, leaders can achieve their goals more effectively and efficiently with the full faith and support of their team. That is, the relationship between trust and communication is trust leads to communication, leads to outcome or result. Also, inspiring trust between co-workers increases greater commitment to their jobs and leads to higher job satisfaction. A potential pitfall towards this approach may be that some leaders of organizations or teams aren't as comfortable creating these type of relationships with employees, while others may naturally excel at forming trusting bonds with their ranks, creating a disjointed bond and an unfair advantage for those that don't. Thank you very much for watching our presentation.